Hello, and thank you for joining us for Lake County Chamber of Commerce presents COVID-19 Conversations from the Frontline. I'm Shaunese, Executive Director. Due to the coronavirus, the Lake County Courthouse announced in mid-March that they would be closing their doors to support the health and wellness of their employees. On a regular basis, the Circuit Court sees almost 1,000 court cases a week. And for those that have existing cases with the court, they have been advised to contact their attorney or the Circuit Court Clerk's office. For today's program, the Lake County Courthouse, What's Happening and What's Not, I will be speaking with Tim Johnston, lead attorney with Johnston Tomei Lenczycki Goldberg out of Libertyville. Hello, Tim. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for giving me a reason to put on the tie.
Absolutely. So here's a question. If someone has a case set for trial with the courts closed, how are they expected to proceed?
As you indicated, the courts are closed. They were initially closed right around St. Patrick's Day, and that closure was then extended through May 18th. Right now, the current order is that all cases that had court dates before that period have now been continued after that period. So if yours is one of those cases, you can expect to receive a notice from the Circuit Clerk's office. They are sending notices to the litigants, those are the people involved in the cases, and their attorneys. They're sending those notices via U.S. mail. So if your address is not correctly listed with the clerk's office, you should go online. And you can go online to the Lake County Clerk's office. Their website is circuitclerk.lakecountyil.gov/public access. And you could also search on Google Lake County Circuit Clerk Public Access, and it will be your primary first result.
Okay.
If you do that, you can look up your own case and find out when your next court date is scheduled for. You can expect it to be sometime in mid-May or later.
Okay. So now let's say I have an emergency and I need to get my case before a family law judge to act. How would I proceed in making that happen?
So while the courts are generally closed, they are open to emergencies. And there's a number of different things that could be an emergency in the court system. One might be a family law case, cases involving custody or other family law matters. In those circumstances, the person involved or their attorney can still file emergency motions. To do that, you should call the clerk's office first at area code 847-377-3209 to schedule that hearing. In most cases now in Illinois, certainly in civil cases, we have e-filing, which allows motions and notices of hearing to be filed electronically with the courthouse. And so this is still the case. And so you can e-file your motions and you can call the clerk's office to have them heard on an emergency basis for family law cases.
Okay, thank you. So let's say, what's going to happen for businesses who are actually in the process of having a business permit approved? Are those still moving forward? Are they working on those?
To the best of my knowledge, permitting is still going forward. I participated in conference calls with the mayors of Green Oaks, Libertyville, Mundelein, and Vernon Hills, and that was the status at that point. All of those municipalities were still working to grant building permits and similar permits because that is an essential function. Additionally, Lake County is still accepting permit applications as well. Obviously, they want people to do this online, and there's a number of permits that can be applied for through Lake County online. They're also accepting limited submittals by person at their headquarters in Libertyville, but those are for items that cannot be submitted online for one reason or another.
Okay.
It's important to note that they're also still performing inspections. They're making every effort. So this is what the website says. They're making every reasonable attempt will be made to perform inspections for general work in occupied dwellings or small commercial buildings using virtual technology until the executive order expires. So they're incorporating virtual inspections. So they really want to keep essential business moving forward.
That is definitely good to know. So now for individuals that may have a, based on the shelter-in-place order that's in effect, are people that have a joint custody case, are they still required to abide by those requirements at this time?
Yes. So if a judge has ordered joint custody in your family law case, or in general, if there's a court order telling you to do something, you must assume that it is unaffected by the recent orders from the governor. So for example, in the governor's order, it specifically identifies travel that is required to comply with the custody order. It classifies that as essential travel. If the coronavirus is causing you to consider seeking to amend your order, perhaps one of the former spouses or persons with joint custody has a job that has greater exposure, you may want to seek to amend that. And in that situation, you should talk to an attorney. Some things are an emergency and some things are not. And at this time, the courts are not hearing non-emergency matters. But I do know that this is a concern for parents.
Okay. Now, if I have a court case coming up, I know you may have mentioned some of this a minute ago, but just once again, if I have a court case coming up and I don't know if the date has changed, how will I find out? Let's say if I haven't received something in the mail, is that the only
Yes.
process at this time?
The best place to go first is the clerk's website. And that is, that's at www.circuitclerk.lakecountyil.gov/public access. And there you can look up your case and get the most up-to-date information. You can also give them a call. So the general number for the clerk's office is area code 847-377-3380. And when you call that number, you'll receive a series of prompts that'll allow you to be your call to be sent to the appropriate division. So if you call that number, it would be very helpful if you have your case number handy. If you don't know your case number, again, you can look that up with your name at the clerk's website.
Okay. Wonderful. Now, I want to add once again all of the information that Tim is giving during this program. It will be typed in at the end of the program. At the end of this program, you'll be able to get the same information. So we will make sure you have it. There'll be information at the beginning. If there are any links in the e-blast, there'll also be some information at the end just to kind of give you a chance to wrap up any contact information you need. Now, Tim, let's say someone has a traffic court case at one of the different branches in Lake County. How should they proceed with that if they have a date coming up?
Well, these cases were continued before the other cases. And what we're seeing on these traffic cases is they're often getting longer continuance dates. So you'll probably see a court dated mid-late May or even later in June. This is to be expected. And so when you are notified of your next court date, plan on going to court on that date. But here's the thing. Don't be surprised if we get another notice of a continuance. So in about a week or so after St. Patrick's Day, when all the cases were continued, we received all the notices of the new court dates. And then this week, we've received another batch of notices. So it's not, it's quite possible that these cases will be continued beyond the middle of March. So keep checking your mail, keep going online, because your case is still active. You will be expected to come to court at the proper time.
Okay. So now with a temporary shutdown, still, let's say people have information relative to a court case coming up. Is it still likely that the court cases will still take place in the same location, or are they moving things around at the courthouse?
Well, if your case is coming up before the end of the current order, so before the middle of May, it's coming up because it's an emergency. So some cases have not been generally continued and are still being heard. Those include orders of protection cases, emergency family law cases, civil cases where there's an agreement and it can be presented remotely. It also includes some criminal cases and some motion hearing on traffic cases, for example, with driver's license suspension issues. Those cases are still going on, but they're going on in just a few courtrooms. So if your case has anything to do with criminal law or traffic law or domestic violence, or it's an order of protection from domestic violence, that will be in courtroom T110. Courtroom T110 is one of the courtrooms on the first floor of the brand new courthouse that's on the south side of Washington Street. You enter that courthouse right underneath the pedestrian bridge, and it's right on that floor. If your case is a civil case is typically a lawsuit about property or money. Those sorts of cases, those will be heard in courtroom 202. And again, those are only the cases that are by agreement. Now, family law cases, those are heard if they're an emergency, and those are heard in courtroom C105. So criminal, traffic, and domestic cases, those are heard in T110. Family law cases are in C105, and civil cases are in C202. Once the emergency is over, I expect everybody will go back to their regular courtrooms.
Okay. So let's say right before all of the shutdown took place, I received a lawsuit. I was named in a lawsuit, or I need to respond to one or served one. In other words, what are the requirements? Do I need to act on them at this point, or what should I do?
Well, you should probably talk to an attorney.
First things
there's
first.
always a limited time to respond to a lawsuit.
Okay.
And sometimes that period is 30 days, sometimes it's shorter than that, sometimes it's longer than that. It just depends on the type of the case and the matter. I do not know of any defense that has been created to answering a lawsuit in the time that is normally required. No defense has been created by the governor's orders or by any of the orders of any of the courts that I'm aware of. I haven't analyzed this issue under federal law. But I would say I would never advise a person to sit on a complaint and not actually respond to it. No, if you were served with a lawsuit, you should immediately act on that. But that said, it does not appear that any immediate action will be taken, any immediate negative action will be taken against you in a civil case because the courts are just not open to hear motions for judgment against people. You have a bit of a breathing room now to contact an attorney and come up with a plan. We're not that busy now. As the courts are closed, we do have time to take on new cases. So you should not delay, though you do have a bit of breathing room.
Okay. So let's take a look. What's happening with those that are currently in jail awaiting trial? Are those still moving forward, or what has the court been doing since March on these cases?
They are still moving forward. And the reason why is some people who are accused of a crime but not yet convicted are judged to be dangerous or perhaps not trustworthy to come back to court. And so a judge may place a cash bond on them and require them to remain in custody unless they were to post that cash bond as security for them to come back. We sometimes call this pretrial incarceration or pretrial detention. People who are on pretrial detention are still presumed innocent, and as such, they have very important rights to a speedy trial. So, yes, those cases are still going on. There's many hardworking people right now at the courthouse, prosecutors, clerks, staff, bailiffs, defense attorneys, and judges who are doing the essential functions. So if your loved one has a criminal case, you can certainly find out more about it through the clerk's office, and I would encourage you to speak with your family member's attorney so that you can be sure that their case is being addressed in a timely manner. Because if I had a loved one, I would not want them in custody right now.
At this time, absolutely, absolutely. So now I know that Governor Pritzker has asked that there be a moratorium on evictions. Taking a look at housing, what is actually taking place in Lake County relative to this area? We know that people have been laid off, they're unemployed, have lost their jobs. What cases are how are they being handled between tenants and landlords at this time?
Well, the cases aren't being heard. Okay. So if a landlord is asking for judgment from a judge that they have the right to evict somebody, they're not able to get their day in court right now. Okay. Additionally, to the best of my knowledge, the sheriffs are not enforcing eviction orders at this time. So again, there is some breathing room for these folks. Okay. Further, there's been a 35-day extension in the foreclosure courts entered, and then that may be extended as well. The answer is that the slowdown of the courts has affected the progress of collection lawsuits, of eviction lawsuits, of foreclosure lawsuits. So it is creating a bit of breathing room there, but it's not creating an excuse. It's not creating a defense. Okay. but that's what's happening right now.
Okay. So let's take a look at individuals that may be interested in filing a lawsuit. What should they be concerned about statutes of limitations at this time when things close down?
Yes. So there's always a statute of limitation. No matter what sort of a case you have, there's a statute of limitation. It may be as short as 6 months or a year. It's commonly 2 years, sometimes 5 years, sometimes 10 years. These statutes of limitation are a deadline. A case must be filed before them, or else it's thrown out. Nothing in the governor's orders, nothing in the orders of the courts have extended these statutes of limitation. So if you have a claim or think you might have a claim, you should pursue it. The statute of limitation will keep going. The good news is the clerk's office is now accepting complaints filed electronically. That is a major step forward in the last few years, and it's just in time. You can file your lawsuit electronically from your computer at home, and there's ample resources online available to help you through that process. Or again, talk to a lawyer. But do not delay, because nothing about the coronavirus emergency is delaying any statute of limitation as far as I've heard so far.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. Well, thank you, Tim. You've answered a number of wonderful questions. I'm hoping that they're helpful for those joining us today. But now in closing, tell me, what do you think, what do you expect that the coronavirus pandemic, what type of impact do you think it will have on the court system going further?
Well, I think that the immediate impact when we get back into court, whether it's in the middle of May or a little bit after that, I think it's going to be hectic and chaotic at first. I think that there's going to be a lot of fear and concern about those who are going to court and becoming exposed to the public, because the reality is the courthouse is where people from all over Lake County, from all different walks of life, from all different family situations, they come and they meet and they sit next to each other in traffic courts. They do that in the hallways, in the elevators, in the parking lots. So it will be different. Myself, I'm always an optimist, and so I do see many positives to come from this. I believe that e-filing is going to be expanded, and I think it should be. I think it should be improved from the current state that it's in a number of ways that probably only attorneys are interested in, but it can become a much better system than it currently is. I think that certainly myself and nearly every other professional I've spoken with has become flexible in the last month or so. We've learned new ways to do business. And I believe that we're also achieving a number of efficiencies as well, whether it's working from home, working smarter, conferring in a way that makes more sense. And we're also understanding our priorities. And so I think that all those things are positive changes that are going to come from this. And I think that those positive effects are all going to be felt by the legal community and in society as a whole. So I do think we're going to get through this, and I do think that the courts will be improved once the chaos settles down.
And once again, Tim, I want to thank you for joining us for the program. Thank you again.
Thank you, Shaunese.